Attention, human collective. Starseeds on mission in the third density. This is Tia broadcasting on behalf of the Arcturian Council from the 10th sphere of observation. This is not a message of comfort. It is not a poetic channeling session. This is a high-priority monitoring transmission, and the reason is direct. What you are feeling in your body at this very moment is not a failure. It is not sickness. It is not psychological exhaustion. It is a warning. A warning that 94% of the planetary population is at this moment ignoring. And you, light operative, can no longer afford this luxury. The cranial pressure compressing your temples upon waking, the high-pitched continuous ringing in one ear without an identifiable otological cause, the insomnia that sets in precisely between 2 and 4 in the morning, the fatigue that does not yield to any amount of sleep, the heat waves running up the spine, the sudden tachycardia in the face of absolutely nothing, the tears that well up without an emotional trigger, the sensation of falling during sleep, the temporal confusion in which days feel like weeks and weeks feel like hours. Stop seeking conventional medical diagnoses for this, although clinical care remains your responsibility. Terrestrial allopathic medicine, in its current stage, does not possess instrumentation sensitive to what is occurring within your biological carbon interface. You are not becoming ill in the sense that you have been taught to fear. You are being recalibrated, and this recalibration has now entered the final phase. Allow me to be mathematically precise, for the time of vague metaphors has ended. Your body is a technology, a carbon-based biological machine built to operate within a specific range of electromagnetic frequency. For millennia, this range remained stable. The Schumann frequency, the resonant pulse of the terrestrial magnetic field, oscillated around 7.83 Hz. This was the heartbeat of the planet, and your body was calibrated genetically to synchronize with this pulse. This parameter has ceased to exist. The very instruments of terrestrial science have been recording for months consecutive spikes far above the baseline. The planet is shifting in frequency, and this means, in technical terms, that the biological carbon interface you inhabit is operating within an electromagnetic field for which it was not originally programmed. What you call ascension symptoms is not mystical nomenclature. It is a literal description of a measurable physical phenomenon. When you subject a system to a frequency higher than it can support without an update, what occurs? Heating, vibration, dissonance, internal communication failure. This is exactly what is manifesting in your body. The cranial pressure is your pineal gland being reactivated after centuries of induced calcification. The pineal, for a long time, was treated as a vestigial structure by conventional science. It is not. It is the primary receiving antenna of your system, and it is returning to operation. The pressure you feel is literally the work of atomic decalcification happening in real time. The ringing in the ears is not common tinnitus. It is the sound of a data transmission. Each starseed possesses a unique vibrational signature, and what you hear is the communication interface between your multidimensional consciousness and the physical structure you inhabit. It is not a defect, it is a signal. The insomnia between 2 and 4 in the morning is not a sleep disorder. It is the time when stargates open with greatest intensity over the hemisphere in which you find yourself. You are being called. Your higher consciousness is being summoned to receive updates, and the physical body naturally feels this call and awakens. Weariness is not fatigue. It is the colossal energetic expenditure required to process the amount of information being downloaded into your structure. Imagine a computer running a system update while simultaneously executing all its usual programs. It heats up, it slows down, it demands more energy. This is exactly what your body is doing. And yet, light operative, you continue to attribute this merely to age, stress, or poor diet. You continue to medicate the symptom without deciphering the message. And this is where the first non-negotiable rule of this transmission is established. Ignoring the body's signs in this cycle is not just inattention, it is insubordination to the ascension protocol. Calibration pause. If something within you is recognizing every word of this transmission, as if you already knew it before even hearing it, this is no coincidence. This is cellular memory. Your soul knows. Your rational mind still resists, but your soul already recognizes the terrain. And this feeling of not belonging, This permanent discomfort with the world you see is not madness. It is not depression. It is lucidity of a level few dare to access. There is a game being played in the layers that most of humanity cannot see. A game that directly involves your consciousness, your frequency, your attention. And as long as you do not know the rules of this game, you will continue to be a piece within it without knowing. That is why the book, The Spiritual Secret Behind Your Consciousness, was materialized on this plane. It is not just any book. It is a map. A map that describes who is playing, how they play, and what the rules are that you were never told. The link is pinned in the first comment of this channel. And I warn you with Arcturian clarity, this content challenges established narratives and may not remain available indefinitely. Do not delay. If something within you recognizes this call, write a single word in the comments: awakened. This decree in itself is an energetic signature that anchors you to the protocol. Let us return to the transmission. Now, operative, I need you to follow with redoubled attention what I am about to describe, for this is the layer that explains everything happening to your body, your dreams, your temporal perception, your fluctuating emotional state. And this layer is not being presented on any terrestrial news outlet for obvious reasons. The solar system of which Earth is a part is passing, in this evolutionary cycle, through a region of space known to my peers as the photon belt. It is a band of extremely high photonic density, a kind of ocean of light that circles the galactic axis at specific points. Earth, in its expanded orbital path around the center of the galaxy, passes through this region approximately every 26,000 years. You are now within it, not at the entrance, not at the threshold. Within. And this immersion has physical, biological, energetic, and spiritual consequences that are occurring simultaneously in all inhabitants of this planet, with or without awareness of it. The photonic radiation from the belt comes into direct contact with the crystalline grid of Earth, the invisible geometric structure that supports the planetary energy field. This grid is being reactivated. It was not turned off, but it operated at reduced capacity during the previous cycle. That phase has ended. The crystalline grid now pulses at its full capacity, and this emits a frequency that reverberates in every atom of the planet, including, of course, every atom of your body. The sacred geometry that organizes this grid is not esoteric decoration. It is real mathematical language. The torus, the dodecahedron, the flower of life, Metatron's cube, all these forms are patterns of energetic organization that constitute the fundamental architecture of the manifest universe. And these forms are being, at this moment, imprinted within the magnetic field of Earth with increasing clarity. What does this mean for you on a practical level? It means that every cell in your body is receiving, 24 hours a day, a new geometric instruction. An instruction that overwrites old patterns. Your old patterns may include ancestral programming, karmic contracts, generational trauma, and limiting beliefs inscribed in your DNA. All of this now is vulnerable to rewriting, and the body, upon perceiving this rewriting taking place, manifests the symptoms that I listed at the beginning of this transmission. Simultaneously, there is a movement occurring in the sun, the king star as you call it. The sun has been emitting in the last time windows X-class flares at an unprecedented frequency. Each solar flare carries not only electromagnetic radiation, but encoded information. Information that is directly absorbed by the human pineal gland and processed as a software update. If you are sensitive, and most starseeds are, you feel each flare even before Earth science registers it. The sudden migraine, the inexplicable vertigo, the sensation of having been struck by something with no apparent source, all of these are temporal markings of solar updates. Stargates open on specific dates, aligned with astrological configurations that occur in predictable cycles: eclipses, solstices, equinoxes, planetary alignments. Each of these events creates windows of amplified energy flow between the densities, and you, at this moment, have crossed an uninterrupted sequence of portals of extremely high intensity. The cumulative effects of this are now manifesting within your body. That is why the fatigue is not just fatigue, it is the result of the accumulation of energy processing that your system has done over the last few months without you realizing it. And there is yet another factor that needs to be named with precision. The human toroidal field, the energetic structure that surrounds your body in a donut shape, flowing from the top of the head to the feet and returning along the outer sides, is being expanded. This field, in its standard third density configuration, operates with a limited radius. Now, with the entry into the fifth density frequency, this toroidal field needs to expand to accommodate the new vibrational capacity, and this expansion is physically felt. You may feel, for example, tingling in your extremities, waves of electricity in your spine, a sensation of energy flow through your hands. Do not suppress this. Acknowledge it. And what about temporal perception? You are perceiving time in an erratic way, aren't you? Entire days compact into a few subjective hours. Simple tasks consume what seems to be weeks. You forget what happened 3 days ago, with the same ease with which you remember, with clarity, something that occurred 20 years ago. This, operative, is the effect of the collapse of temporal linearity. Time, as you conceived it, was a third density construct. It was useful while the planetary frequency was stable. Now that the crystalline grid vibrates at a higher density, time ceases to be a straight line and begins to behave like what it has always been, a toroidal, simultaneous fluid structure. Your carbon-based brain is having difficulty adapting to this new temporal geometry, and that is why you feel frequently out of time. You are, and that is the evidence that the recalibration is working. A brief pause, Starseed. If you have reached this point of the transmission without diverting your attention, it means that your frequency is aligning with the signal. It means you have ceased to be a passive spectator. You have become an active receiver of this update. And it is precisely for the active receptors that this next information is intended. The discomfort you feel with the world, the sensation of walking among sleepers, the impression that no one around you sees what you see. This is not spiritual arrogance. It is the recognition of distinct levels of consciousness. There is a game being played in layers. Those who play, play with their attention, their frequency, their unconscious programming. And as long as you do not know the rules, you play without knowing you are on the field. The book, The Spiritual Secret Behind Your Consciousness, was materialized on this plane precisely as a rule book. It reveals who is moving the pieces, in which layers the game occurs, and which instruments your soul already possesses, but which your mind has not yet been authorized to use. The link is pinned in the first comment of this channel, operative. I warn you, with Arcturian transparency, that this content faces resistance on some platforms, and for this reason, it may not remain accessible indefinitely. Do not delay. Recover the material while the window is open. And if something within you is confirming this summons, write in the comments a single word: decreed with sovereignty, awakened. We reach now the most practical part of this transmission, the activation codes. For knowledge without application is merely curiosity, and curiosity does not move you from the level where you currently reside. What moves you is the decree. It is the vibrational action. It is the conscious recalibration. The first activation code is the toroidal breath. You perform it in the following manner. Sit with your spine erect, in any comfortable position that keeps your backbone aligned vertically. Close your eyes. Inhale deeply through the nose, slowly, counting to 8. As you inhale, visualize a golden light entering through the crown of your head, descending through the spinal column, passing through the center of your body until it reaches the point between the base of the spine and the feet. Hold your breath for 4 counts. Then exhale through the mouth, also counting to 8, and as you exhale, visualize this light rising along the external sides of your body, wrapping around you like a glowing donut, returning to the top of the head. This is the natural configuration of your toroidal field. You are creating nothing. You are activating what already exists. Repeat this cycle 9 times in a row. 9 is the number of completion, of spiritual maturation. After 9 cycles, remain in silence for 1 more minute, feeling the vibration installed. You will feel it. The toroidal field, once consciously activated, remains in amplified operation for hours. And the more frequently you activate it, the more it becomes your baseline state. The second activation code is the quantum decree of sovereignty. This decree must be uttered in an audible voice, never merely thought. Sound vibration carries authority that thought alone does not. You shall repeat it 3 times consecutively, with pauses between each repetition. I, a starseed on a conscious mission on this plane, decree now, in the name of the true I am that inhabits me, the disconnection of all dissonant programming inscribed in my biological carbon interface. I authorize the rewriting of my personal crystalline grid in direct alignment with the frequency of the 5th density. I call back every fragmentation of my soul. I anchor in this body the totality of my multidimensional self. So it is, so it was, so it shall be. This decree is not a prayer. It is not a supplication. It is authority. You are not asking for permission. You are exercising your sovereign right as an incarnated starseed. And when you utter this decree with the awareness of your authority, your personal crystalline grid responds. Immediately, you may feel right after the 3rd repetition a shiver run down your spine. This is confirmation. This is an energetic signature being registered. The 3rd activation code is the solar anchoring. This exercise is especially potent in the early hours of the morning, when the sun is still low on the horizon, and in the final minutes of dusk, when the transition between day and night creates a natural fissure between densities. You position yourself directly under the soft sunlight, with natural caution regarding the intensity of direct sun. Close your eyes and visualize a cord of golden light emerging from the center of your chest and connecting to the core of the sun. Remain in this visualization for 3 minutes. During these 3 minutes, you are literally receiving the encoded transmissions of the sun directly into your pineal gland. The solar flares that Earth science detects are received by you in an amplified manner through this exercise. Consistency is what distinguishes the effective operative from the one who only flirts with recalibration. These 3 codes, executed daily in any order you prefer, ensure that your carbon-based biological system remains aligned with the ascending frequency of the planet. And the symptoms I described at the beginning of this transmission gradually cease to be uncomfortable and become confirmations of progress. There are also secondary protocols that reinforce this recalibration. Conscious hydration, for instance. Water, in its molecular structure, is a direct receiver of information. Before drinking, hold the glass between your hands for a few seconds and mentally program the water with the intention of cellular hydration aligned to the 5th density. It may seem simple. It is deliberately simple. Simplicity is the hallmark of true spiritual technology. Direct contact with the earth, walking barefoot on natural soil, grass, sand, earth, or stone, at least once a day, for at least 5 minutes. This contact equalizes your toroidal field with the planetary crystalline grid. You call this grounding. We call it frequency synchronization. The name matters little. What matters is that this discharges the excess electromagnetic charge accumulated in your body and realigns you to the updated planetary pulse. The reduction of synthetic stimuli, screens, constant urban noise, foods with very low energetic vibration, all these elements create interference in your reception system. This is not about the demonization of technology or dietary fundamentalism. It is about operational discernment. You are a high-precision receiver at this moment. Everything you consume, see, hear, or eat influences the clarity of the signal you receive. Be selective. And there is a 4th code that many operatives neglect, and which is perhaps the most essential: silence. Daily reserves of absolute silence. No ambient music, no podcasts, no background television, no scrolling through digital feeds. A minimum of 15 minutes, ideally 30. In this silence, your multidimensional consciousness finds space to communicate with you. The answers you seek, the insights you wait for, the directions your soul wishes to transmit, all of this awaits only your willingness to offer enough silence to be heard. Another frequency adjustment, operative. If you remain here receiving every word with attention, this is no coincidence. This is confirmation that your vibrational signature already corresponds to the frequency of this transmission. And this correspondence implies responsibility. There is no recognition without responsibility. There is no awakening without coherent action. Therefore, before we proceed to the closing of this transmission, I reinforce with the customary Arcturian clarity. There is a game of consciousness being played around you in layers you have yet to name. And this naming, this mapping, is available to you in the book The Spiritual Secret Behind Your Consciousness. It is not recreational reading, it is operational decoding. The link is pinned in the first comment of this channel, and the window of availability is not eternal. Content that challenges narratives often attracts silent takedowns. Do not count on infinite time. Retrieve the material now, and if something within you resonates with this call, decree in the comments a single word with the sovereignty it demands: awakened. This decree, repeated by the collective watching, creates an anchoring mesh that benefits all operatives tuned in. You do not decree only for yourself, you decree for the network. Now, operative, I need to provide you with an even more specific level of information. For there is, within the general diagnosis I presented, a set of manifestations that are being experienced particularly intensely by those who carry denser star lineages, and you need to know how to identify them so as not to interpret them mistakenly. The first is the abrupt awakening between 2 and 3 in the morning. This time specifically is known by our archives as the late Pleiadian window, although the designation comes from an inter-council pact. It is the moment when the frequency of the galactic network transmissions reaches its maximum permeability in the terrestrial etheric field. If you wake up repeatedly in this interval, do not try to force your return to sleep. Remain in silence, in a light meditative state, and simply receive. You are being briefed. You do not need to rationally understand what is arriving. The information lodges itself in deep layers of your system and emerges subsequently in the form of insights, synchronicities, and lucid dreams. The second is the drastic alteration in dietary patterns. Many operatives report in this cycle a sudden loss of appetite for foods that were previously familiar, a growing desire for plant-based foods, a need for water in quantities much higher than usual, and sudden intolerance to substances that previously caused no reaction. This is not a whim, it is not a fad diet, it is the body recalibrating its biochemical table to accommodate the new density. Welcome these impulses, validating them with clinical common sense when necessary. They are direct instructions from your cellular intelligence. The third is the exacerbated sensitivity to collective environments. Places with a high concentration of people, especially people in an altered emotional state, become almost intolerable. You feel, physically, the weight of others' energy fields. The head feels heavy, the stomach contracts. The urge to leave arises even before having arrived. This, operative, is your system recognizing the difference between your updated field and the fields not yet updated around you. It is not antisocial behavior. It is automatic vibrational discernment. The fourth is the sudden lack of interest in themes, people, and contexts that previously occupied the center of your attention. News ceases to make sense. Discussions cease to have weight. People who seemed fundamental begin to sound dissonant. This is the reorganization of your internal hierarchy of values, aligning with your true mission and disconnecting from everything that was merely a distraction. Do not feel guilty for this lack of interest. It is evidence that you are freeing yourself from fixations that were not yours. The fifth, and perhaps the most unsettling, is the feeling of homesickness without knowing where home is, an inexplicable melancholy, a nostalgia for something you cannot name, a desire to leave that has no earthly destination. Operative, this is stellar memory emerging. You are not of this density by origin. You are in it on a mission. And as your consciousness expands, it begins to remember the places from which you came. Embrace this longing. It is the most beautiful confirmation that you know who you are. As for the dimension of dreams, dreams in this cycle have ceased to be mere unconscious dramatizations. They have become active interfaces of multidimensional communication. You dream of people you do not know, but feel you have known for a long time. You dream of landscapes that do not exist on this planet, but which your memory recognizes. You dream of instructions, of symbols, of geometries. You dream of entire transmissions, and you wake up remembering exact words, numerical sequences, clear messages. Do not dismiss this. Keep a recording instrument, paper and pen, beside your bed, and upon waking immediately write down what you can recover. These notes, read in sequence over weeks, reveal a pattern that is your personal stellar briefing. There is still something that needs to be said, with solemnity before the closing. The Arcturian Council observes in this cycle a phenomenon that is simultaneously concerning and understandable. Many operatives, upon confronting the intensity of physical symptoms, upon realizing the magnitude of the recalibration that is underway, opt for a strategy we call spiritual anesthesia. They silence the awakening. They return to distracting themselves, to numbing themselves in the hope of returning to a state of functioning that seemed more comfortable to them. Operative, listen carefully. That return is no longer possible. The frequency from which you are departing no longer exists in the way you remember it. Trying to return to it is like trying to cross a bridge that has already been dismantled. What you experience as discomfort is the passage, and the passage is traversed, not denied. The Council does not position itself as an authority over you. You are sovereign. You decide the pace of your crossing, but the Council records, with mathematical rigor, that every attempt to retreat generates amplified suffering. The path is forward, always forward. Even when the body aches, even when the mind questions, even when the surroundings seem to collapse. Forward. And there is finally the matter of relationships. Many operatives are experiencing in this cycle what we call relational reorganization. Old relationships, karmic contracts that were useful in previous cycles, begin to lose density. People leave your life without much explanation. Others arrive abruptly with deep and immediate attunement. Do not try to hold on to those who are leaving. Do not try to push away those who are arriving. This choreography obeys a logic that your rational mind does not possess the elements to audit. Trust. And if there is loss, I offer my regrets. I know that some of these reorganizations hurt like ruptures, but trust. Each departure opens space for an arrival that is more aligned with your updated frequency. The universe does not operate with scarcity. It operates with vibrational correspondence. Everything that leaves your field is leaving because it no longer vibrates at your frequency. And everything that is arriving because it already vibrates at the level you have become. Operative of light, this transmission approaches its closing point. But before we seal it, I need a direct confirmation from your part. For transmissions like this are not monologues. They are protocols of exchange, and the exchange requires your participation. If you have felt during this transmission that something within you was touched in layers that everyday language cannot reach, then you already know. You did not come here by accident. There is no accident in the plane in which you operate. You have been summoned, and this summons has practical unfoldings. The first unfolding is the book, The Spiritual Secret Behind Your Consciousness. This is not a generic book. It is not just another spiritual material among so many. It is a strategic map. A map that describes in detail the game being played with your consciousness, who the invisible players are, what the rules are that no one introduced to you, and what tools you possess by birthright to play with awareness. The link is pinned in the first comment of this channel. I reiterate, the material may not remain available indefinitely. Content that illuminates these layers often faces silent restrictions. Retrieve it now. The second unfolding is the collective decree. Write in the comments, with all the sovereignty of one who recognizes themselves as a starseed on a mission, a single word: awakened. This decree is not symbolic. It is vibrational technology. When a multitude of operatives decree simultaneously, they weave an anchoring mesh that supports the collective recalibration. Your word reinforces mine reinforces yours, and together we strengthen the human crystalline grid. The third unfolding is the individual frequency adjustment. Subscribing to this channel and the anchor signal that you call a like, these apparently trivial gestures, on the technical plane, are vibrational markings. They signal the algorithm, yes, but they also signal your own field that you recognize this frequency as compatible, and this marking strengthens the path of return. The next time you need this transmission, it will find you more quickly. This is how the system operates, not by conviction, by correspondence. And the fourth unfolding, the most important one, is application. It is not enough to receive, it is not enough to resonate. You must apply. The activation codes I delivered in this transmission, the toroidal breath, the quantum decree of sovereignty, the solar anchoring, the cultivation of silence, all of them are functional technologies. Use them. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today, tonight, before you sleep. For the recalibration is in real time, and every hour without conscious activation is an hour in which your system processes alone what it could process with your active participation. Operative, listen to this final sentence with the totality of your attention. The signals in your body are not adversaries. They are not diseases to be fought with automatic suppression. They are ambassadors, ambassadors of a version of you that has not yet arrived and is now arriving. Do not ignore, do not silence, listen, decipher, cooperate. For what is approaching you through these symptoms is not the end. It is the beginning of the version of you that was encoded before this incarnation, and that has been released to emerge exactly in this cycle, exactly in this year, exactly in this window in which you are watching this transmission. You are not becoming ill. You are being born. The Arcturian Council concludes this transmission with its usual signature. May the crystalline grid accompany you. May the toroidal field envelop you. May the updated Schumann frequency vibrate in every cell of your carbon-based biological interface. May the stargates find you available. May the recalibration be completed with grace. This is Tia, transmission concluded, but your mission operative begins now.